They loved each other for only a moment, and yet their love burned so fiercely that it set an entire world on fire. For more than 3,000 years, people have whispered their names in the same breath, not as heroes, not as saints, but as lovers. A prince from Troy, a queen from Sparta, and, between them, a love so dangerous that it destroyed kingdoms. Some say she was the most beautiful woman who ever lived. Others say he was weak, selfish, reckless. But history is rarely that simple, because behind the legends and the bloodshed, behind the burning cities and the fallen warriors, there were two human beings searching for something painfully familiar: love, escape, belonging, and perhaps that is why their story still haunts us today. Ancient Greece was a world obsessed with honor. Kings ruled through power, warriors earned glory through blood, women were traded through marriage like fragile alliances wrapped in silk and gold, and beauty could become a curse. In the kingdom of Sparta lived Helen, the daughter of a king, a queen admired across all of Greece, a woman men crossed oceans to look upon. Stories claimed her beauty was almost divine. Poets described her face as something capable of stopping conversations mid-sentence. Soldiers spoke of her as if she were a dream sent by the gods themselves. But beauty is a lonely thing when the world only sees your reflection. Behind palace walls, Helen lived a carefully controlled life. Her marriage to Menelaus, king of Sparta, gave her status, wealth, security, but not love, not the kind that reaches into the soul and makes a person feel truly alive. Far away beyond the sea stood the magnificent city of Troy. Golden towers shimmered under the Anatolian sun. Massive stone walls protected one of the richest kingdoms in the ancient world. And within those walls lived Prince Paris. Unlike his warrior brother Hector, Paris was not celebrated for strength in battle. He was thoughtful, gentle, dreamlike, a man more drawn to music and beauty than war and conquest. Some mocked him for it, but Paris carried another burden few understood. Before he was born, a prophecy warned that he would one day bring destruction upon Troy. His own family feared him before they even held him in their arms. Imagine growing up with that shadow hanging over your life. Imagine believing destiny itself had already chosen your ending. Then came the event that would change history forever. A celebration among the gods, a golden apple, and a single impossible choice. According to legend, the goddesses Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each demanded to be named the fairest of them all. Paris was chosen to decide. Hera offered him power. Athena promised wisdom and victory in war. But Aphrodite, she leaned close and whispered something far more dangerous. She promised him the love of the most beautiful woman on earth, Helen, and Paris accepted. Maybe that was the moment Troy's fate was sealed. Or maybe it was the moment two lonely hearts unknowingly began moving toward each other. Paris arrived in Sparta as a guest. In ancient Greece, hospitality was sacred. Guests were protected, welcomed, honored. No one imagined danger. And then, Paris saw Helen. Some stories say time itself seemed to stop. Others say she looked at him with the sadness of someone who had spent years pretending to be happy. Perhaps neither story is true, or perhaps both are. Paris was unlike the men Helen knew. He did not speak to her like a trophy. He did not worship her beauty from a distance. He listened. He noticed the pauses in her voice, the exhaustion behind her royal smile, the quiet ache hidden beneath elegance and perfection. And Helen saw something in Paris she had almost forgotten existed. Freedom. For the first time in years, someone looked at her not as the Queen of Sparta, but simply as a woman who wanted to feel alive again. Their conversations stretched deep into the night. Soft laughter echoed through palace gardens. Hands brushed accidentally. Eyes lingered too long. And with every passing moment, the danger between them grew. Because forbidden love often begins quietly, not with grand declarations, but with silence, with longing, with the terrifying realization that someone finally understands you. One night, Paris confessed his feelings. Maybe he should have walked away. Maybe Helen should have turned from him forever. But loneliness has a way of breaking even the strongest walls. And Helen kissed him. Not as a queen, not as a symbol, not as the most beautiful woman in Greece. Just as a human being desperate to be loved. It was reckless, beautiful, unforgivable, and from that moment on, there was no turning back. Some historians believe Helen left willingly. Others claim Paris kidnapped her. The truth vanished long ago beneath centuries of myth. But one thing remained certain. When Helen sailed away from Sparta with Paris, the world exploded behind them. King Menelaus was humiliated. His wife had vanished with another man. His honor had been shattered before all of Greece. And in that world, wounded pride demanded blood. So Menelaus called upon the most powerful kings and warriors of Greece to help him reclaim Helen. Thousands answered. Ships filled the horizon. Bronze armor gleamed beneath the sun. War drums thundered across the sea. Among them were legendary names that would echo through history forever. Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax. An entire civilization marched toward Troy because of one love affair. Think about that. One decision, one stolen kiss, one impossible longing, and suddenly thousands of lives stood on the edge of destruction. Inside Troy, fear spread quickly. Some blamed Paris immediately. Others begged Helen to return to Sparta before war arrived. But Paris refused to abandon her, and Helen stayed. Maybe because she truly loved him, maybe because there was no home left for her anymore, or maybe because once a person risks everything for love, they cannot bear to admit the cost was too high. The Greek fleet finally appeared at the shores of Troy like a storm rising from the sea, and thus began one of the most famous wars in human history. 10 years of death, 10 years of grief, 10 years of fathers bearing sons and wives waiting for husbands who would never return, all because two people chose each other. Inside the walls of Troy, Paris and Helen lived under constant shadow. Outside, warriors slaughtered one another daily. Inside, guilt slowly poisoned whatever happiness they once shared. Paris tried to protect Helen from the horrors beyond the palace walls. But no wall can fully silence suffering. At night, they heard mourning cries echo through the city. They watched funeral fires stain the sky orange. Every death felt heavier than the last. And people began looking at Helen differently. Not as a queen, not as a lover, but as a curse. The face that launched 1,000 ships. Imagine carrying that weight. Imagine knowing entire families hated you for simply being loved. Then tragedy struck Troy again. Hector, the city's greatest warrior and Paris's beloved brother, was killed by Achilles. The loss shattered the kingdom. Hector had been Troy's shield, its hope, its heart. Without him, fear spread like disease. And Paris was forced to confront the terrible truth. His choices had consequences far beyond himself. For the first time, love no longer felt romantic. It felt catastrophic. Yet even in the darkness, Paris and Helen clung to one another. Because when the world collapses, people often hold tighter to the only thing that still feels real. There are stories that Helen begged Paris to end the war. Stories that she wept for the dead. Stories that she stood atop Troy's walls staring toward the Greek camps, wondering how many men had died because of her face. But history rarely gives women like Helen mercy. She became a symbol, a fantasy, a scapegoat. Very few cared about her fear, her confusion, her humanity. Then came the final nightmare, the Trojan horse. A massive wooden horse left outside the city gates as an apparent gift from the Greeks. The Greeks appeared to sail away. Troy celebrated. People danced in the streets believing the war was finally over. But hidden inside the horse were Greek soldiers waiting silently in darkness, waiting for nightfall, waiting for Troy to sleep. And when darkness covered the city, the gates were opened. Greek warriors flooded into Troy like fire unleashed from hell itself. Screams shattered the night, homes burned, temples collapsed, blood ran through the streets beneath the glow of flames. The great city of Troy, once thought invincible, was dying. And somewhere amid the chaos, Paris searched desperately for Helen. Some legends say Paris was killed during the final battle. Others claim he died earlier from a poisoned arrow. But nearly every version of the story agrees on one heartbreaking truth. Paris and Helen did not get the happy ending they dreamed of. No peaceful escape, no kingdom together, no future untouched by grief. Just ashes, just loss. Just the unbearable realization that love alone cannot save people from fate. After Troy fell, Helen was taken back to Sparta, back to the life she once abandoned. Some say Menelaus intended to kill her upon seeing her again. But When he looked into her eyes, he could not do it. Perhaps he still loved her. Perhaps beauty still held power over him. Or perhaps everyone in this story was simply trapped by emotions larger than themselves. Helen lived on, but imagine the ghosts she carried. The burning city, the dead soldiers' Paris, the man who risked everything for her, the man whose love destroyed an empire. For thousands of years, people have argued over their story. Was it truly love? Was it obsession? Was it selfishness disguised as romance? Maybe. But perhaps the reason their story survives is because it reflects something painfully human. Love can inspire poetry. Love can heal loneliness. Love can make people feel immortal. And sometimes, love can ruin everything. That is the terrifying beauty of it. Paris and Helen were not perfect lovers from a fairy tale. They were flawed, emotional, impulsive, human. And maybe that is why we still remember them long after kings and armies have faded into dust. Because somewhere deep inside ourselves, we all understand the dangerous desire to be chosen, to feel seen, to escape the life expected of us. Even when the cost is unimaginable, the ruins of Troy still stand today beneath the Turkish sun. Broken stones, collapsed walls, fragments of a world destroyed long ago. But stories survive fire. And among all the tales born from ancient Greece, none burns brighter than the tragic love story of Paris and Helen. Two lovers, one impossible choice, and a passion that changed history forever. Perhaps that is the final lesson their story leaves behind. Love is not always safe, it is not always wise, and it does not always lead to happiness. But even after thousands of years, human hearts still chase it anyway. Because sometimes a single moment of real love feels worth more than an entire lifetime of empty peace. And maybe that is the most tragic thing of all.